3 weeks ago, my husband slapped me across the face in front of 600 guests at our anniversary dinner. The entire ballroom laughed. My father-in-law had just toasted my replacement. My mother-in-law handed me my third Gucci apron in 3 years. And my own husband was holding another woman's hand under the table. What they didn't know was that 2 words I was about to text my father would erase their entire family from Boston real estate in 72 hours. My name is Fay Merritt. I'm 31 years old, and this is the night I stopped being quiet. The same night I got slapped in front of 600 people, my husband didn't even look sorry. He looked relieved, like he had finally done the thing everyone at that table had been waiting for him to do. My name is Fay Merritt. I'm 31 years old. 3 weeks ago, at our anniversary dinner at the Four Seasons in Boston, my husband Declan Alden slapped me so hard his wedding ring split my lip, and 600 guests laughed. Before I take you back to that night, if stories about family betrayal, hidden power, and quiet revenge matter to you, please hit like and subscribe. Drop your city and local time in the comments. I read every single one. Now, let me take you back 3 weeks to the night I still believed love might be enough. 4 years earlier, Declan Alden walked into a pro bono legal clinic in Dorchester on a random Tuesday. His law firm required 10 volunteer hours a year. He thought he'd stay 1 hour. He stayed 6. Then he asked me to dinner. I said no the first 3 times. On the 4th, I said yes. For 11 months, he was kind. He remembered I hated cilantro. He brought soup when I was sick. He never once asked me to change my last name. I thought that meant he respected me. I was wrong. The first time I met his parents, Vivian opened the door of their Brooklyn Heights townhouse and looked at my gray sweater for 3 full seconds. "Oh, Fay, how delightfully homespun." She did not take the peach pie I had baked at 6 a.m. She handed it to the housekeeper. Raymond Alden sat in the library with a whiskey and asked me about my people. I told him my father was in automotive. He smiled the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. "So, a mechanic." Declan laughed. It was soft, it was short, but he laughed. That night I decided not to tell them who my father really was. I wanted to see if Declan would stand next to me when he thought I had nothing. That decision would cost me 3 years. It would also save everything else. What they didn't know was that my father, Arthur Merritt, started with a failing garage in Worcester in 1985. Today, Merritt Holdings manages $3.2 billion in real estate and private lending across the East Coast. He still drives a 1992 Ford F-150. He still has grease under his thumbnail from 1987. My mother, before she died when I was 19, told me one sentence I never forgot. "F.A., let them underestimate you. It's the cheapest advantage you will ever get." I took that advice seriously. I went to Boston College Law on my own transcript. I took a job at Bergman & Rowe instead of going in-house at one of the firms my father quietly owned a stake in. I kept my family's wealth hidden like a secret I was protecting from myself. When Declan proposed, I said yes. I called my father from the sidewalk outside the shop where he proposed. "Dad, I'm getting married." A long pause. "He good to you?" "Yes." "Does he know?" "No." Another pause. "You want my opinion or not?" "Not yet." 3 weeks after the engagement, Raymond insisted on a prenup. His lawyer said, "We're not letting some Worcester girl touch the company." I smiled at the ceiling that night. I called Gregory Finch, my father's general counsel for 25 years, and asked him to review the prenup quietly. Gregory laughed warmly. "Kiddo, I've been waiting 3 years for this call." I signed the prenup in a mahogany conference room on Federal Street. Raymond's lawyer walked through the Alden family assets, commercial holdings, residential, cash positions. At page 47, he mentioned the senior lending facility, $840 million, held by Merritt Capital, LLC. Raymond waved his hand. "Boring part, move on." I held my pen very still.
I signed the separate schedule listing my own assets, $184,000, a small condo, a Honda Civic. Raymond glanced at the total and smiled at Declan. "Son, we locked the vault." Declan smiled back. He never read my page.
The first Christmas, Vivian gave me a Gucci apron. She called it aspirational. The second Christmas, another Gucci apron. The third Christmas, the night of the anniversary dinner, she gave me the third one in front of 600 guests. That night, the ballroom was full of Boston's elite, real estate developers, bankers, politicians, and the press. Raymond stood up to give a toast. He talked about legacy, about the future of Alden Properties, about alliances that match our stride. His eyes lingered on Cressa Holloway Wance, Declan's old friend from Choate, who had been holding my husband's hand under the table for 40 minutes. Then he looked at me. "Fay, sweetheart, we've loved watching you try." The laughter started small and grew. Vivian leaned toward Cressa's mother. "She's very grounded. Worcester girl, you know." Cressa laughed the loudest. Declan laughed too. I sat there with the third Gucci apron on the table next to my bread plate and felt something inside me go very quiet. Not broken, quiet. The kind of quiet that happens right before a verdict. Raymond continued. "Some matches take, some don't." More laughter. I stood up. The entire ballroom turned toward me. Raymond's smile faltered for half a second. I didn't raise my voice. I spoke the way I speak when I'm cross-examining a witness. "Raymond, you've spoken for 3 years. Let me speak for 3 minutes." The room went silent. I looked at Declan. "You held her hand under the table for 40 minutes. I counted. I looked at Vivian. "You gave me 3 Gucci aprons in 3 years. I have 3 closets and 3 aprons. I'd like to return them all." I looked at Raymond. "You called my father a grease monkey in front of my husband for 3 years running. Tonight, your son laughed louder than he's ever laughed in our apartment." I turned back to the room. "And 600 of you just laughed when my husband slapped me." I touched my bleeding lip. Declan stood up fast. His face was red. "Fay, sit down. You're embarrassing me." I looked at him calmly. "You did that yourself." He raised his hand again. The slap landed clean. His wedding ring split my lip. The sound carried across the ballroom like a plate dropped on marble. Then the laughter started again. Not everyone, but enough. Cressa laughed. A woman 2 tables over laughed. Someone said, "Oh my God." I didn't fall. I didn't cry. I lifted my hand to my lip. My fingers came away red. I looked at the blood. I looked at Declan. I smiled. Small, private, dangerous. Then I took out my phone under the table and typed 2 words to my father. "Dad, please." I pressed send. 90 seconds later, the double doors at the back of the ballroom opened. My father, Arthur Merritt, walked in wearing a navy blazer over a dark flannel shirt and work boots. Behind him walked Gregory Finch, carrying a leather portfolio. The entire ballroom noticed them in layers. The waiters noticed first. One dropped a tray of spoons. The bankers noticed second. 3 men stood up at the same time. Raymond noticed third. His face went the color of dry cement. My father crossed the ballroom at a mechanic's pace, unhurried, steady. He stopped at table 1. He looked at me first. "Kiddo?" Lip. He pulled a white handkerchief from his pocket and gently dabbed the blood from my lip. His hand smelled faintly of engine degreaser. It always does. "You okay?" "I am now." He folded the handkerchief and put it back in his pocket. Then he turned to Raymond Alden. "Raymond, been a minute since the Q2 loan review."
Raymond's mouth opened. No sound came out. My father continued, voice calm and clear enough for the whole ballroom to hear. 14 months ago, Alden, properties breached Covenant 4.2 on the $840 million senior loan from Merritt Capital. You breached it again in April, July, and last month. Raymond tried to speak. Arthur, we have a cure period. You have 30 days, my father said. Use them. Gregory Finch stepped forward and placed a single document on the white tablecloth in front of Raymond. Notice of event of default and acceleration, delivered 63 minutes ago. The Boston Globe reporter's phone was already recording. Declan stood up. Dad, what loan? My father turned to him. Son, you're the CFO. You signed the disclosure statement 8 months ago. My name is on page 12. Declan made a sound that wasn't a word. Creasa let go of Declan's hand and stood up fast. She walked toward the exit on heels that couldn't handle marble. Her father followed without looking back. I looked at Vivian. The 3 aprons will be on your dining room table by tomorrow afternoon. Signed for. Vivian's hand went to her pearls. Raymond stood slowly. His napkin fell to the floor. Arthur, we can talk about this. My father looked at him with the same steady eyes he uses when he's looking at a broken engine. Raymond, you made it this. He offered me his arm. I took it. We walked out together through 600 people who now understood they had been at the wrong dinner. 72 hours later, Alden Properties held an emergency board meeting. Raymond was removed as CEO. Declan was removed as CFO. The $840 million loan was accelerated. The company began fire-selling assets at 60 cents on the dollar. The Boston Globe ran the story above the fold. 2 days after that, I filed for divorce on at-fault grounds, cruelty and tangible injury. I had the photo of my wrist. I had the cut on my lip. I had 600 witnesses. The prenup held, but so did the separate property clause Gregory had written years earlier. I kept everything that was mine. Declan kept the shame. Vivian tried to call me once. I let it go to voicemail. She left a message that started with, "Fay, darling," and ended with, "We can fix this." I never called back. My father still drives the same 1992 Ford F-150. He still has grease under his thumbnail. Every Sunday, I drive to Worcester and sit in his garage while he works on cars. He doesn't ask me about the money. He doesn't ask me about Declan. He just hands me wrenches and says, 3/4. I hand him the wrench. Sometimes we don't speak for hours. Sometimes that's the best conversation I've ever had. If you've ever been the person at the table who everyone underestimated, if you've ever been slapped, literally or figuratively, while the room laughed, drop a heart in the comments. Tell me, who is the Arthur Merritt in your life? The one who would walk into any room for you, no questions asked. I read every comment. If this story made you feel seen, hit like and subscribe. There are more stories like this in the description. Thank you for staying until the end. Take care of yourself first. Nobody else has that job.